Welcome back to the CryptoBot channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now the price of Bitcoin is just hanging on to this important level of support, and in less than 24 hours from now, new CPI numbers will be released, which will update the US inflation rate. That will be very important to pay attention to and will likely affect all markets. So in just a moment, I'm going to be talking about all of that and so much more later in this video. Make sure you watch to the end. First of all, just giving you a quick update on what happened in the US stock market today. This right here is the Nasdaq 100 index on the daily time frame, and as you can see, we've seen a bit of a pullback today in the stock markets, and this short-term pullback has resulted in some short-term weakness in crypto prices today. And as I explained in more detail in my last video that I posted yesterday, on the weekly time frame for the Nasdaq 100 index, if you're looking at the weekly RSI, meaning that right now is seriously a crucial time in the markets because we could be in a similar situation at the moment to what we were seeing back towards the end of March, where the weekly RSI simply reset towards its neutral levels, giving us more room to the downside later on for another leg to the downside. But as you probably already know, I talked about all of that in my last video that I posted yesterday on the channel in much more detail. So if you're new to this channel and you have not seen my last video, definitely check that one out after you finish watching this one. But anyway, now talking about CPI, talking about inflation in the US, and right now, as of today, the year-over-year inflation rate in the US, according to the Consumer Price Index, is sitting at 9.1% year-over-year. And in less than 24 hours, in fact, to be exact, at 12:30 p.m. GMT time on Wednesday the 10th, there's going to be new CPI numbers released, which will update the official inflation rate in the US. And a lot of market participants are expecting inflation to potentially have peaked. That is right, we could have hit a peak in CPI inflation. But obviously, that's just going off what the majority is currently expecting, and obviously things can change in the future. But as of right now, consensus is currently expecting CPI inflation to come in at 8.7% year over year. But the Trading Economics forecast is expecting inflation year over year to remain at 9.1% with the new CPI numbers that we get tomorrow. So either way, there's really no expectations for inflation to actually get worse than 9.1%. So if CPI inflation goes higher than 9.1% when we get those numbers in less than 24 hours from now, then that could obviously be bad news for markets because it means that the Fed still isn't really doing anything with their rate hikes and with their quantitative tightening. And if they have to do more of that, talking about quantitative tightening and more rate hikes, then that is simply bearish for markets. But if the market gets what it is expecting, meaning that if inflation, when those new CPI numbers come out, if inflation year over year goes down, so drops below 9.1%, then that is good news because it sends a signal to the Fed telling them that they're on the right path at bringing inflation down, because really what the Federal Reserve has been trying to do is raise the federal funds rate above what's known as the neutral rate, because basically at the so-called neutral rate, that is where inflation stays the same, but raising the federal funds rate just above that neutral rate, that tips the scales against inflation, meaning that if the federal funds rate is above the neutral rate, inflation will start making its way back down, and then the Fed basically just have to hold that rate there for some time while inflation starts making its way back down. And then eventually when CPI inflation starts getting back down towards the Fed's target inflation rate, which is around 2 to 3%, then it's at that point, or if another factor happens like a massive increase in unemployment, it's in one of those scenarios where the Federal Reserve can begin to lower their federal funds rate again, which is bullish for markets. That's basically going back to that money printing time that we were in over the last couple of years, especially if they start QE again. And as for when that could happen, that really depends on what these CPI numbers come in at tomorrow. So just a quick summary of this segment of the video. Basically, anything above 9.1% year over year inflation, if we see that tomorrow, then that is bad news for markets. We could end up seeing a dump in markets if we get over 9.1%. But really anything in between 9.1% and 8.7%. So basically, if CPI inflation starts to dip back down with tomorrow's numbers, then that is pretty much what the majority is already expecting. So in that case, we might not see too much, maybe a small pump, because that would still be good news rather than bad news overall. But of course, the further CPI inflation goes down, the better. So if we see inflation under 8.7% somehow, then that would be really good news for markets if inflation drops by that much, meaning that we could see a significant pump if we get such low numbers like that. And of course, in tomorrow's video, I'll be sure to cover tomorrow's CPI numbers And if you want a real-time update, if you want to know what these inflation numbers will be tomorrow within minutes of those numbers being released, then make sure you follow me over on my Twitter, and the link to my Twitter is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment if you want to stay up to date in real time. But anyway, getting into the Bitcoin part of this video, this right here is the Bitcoin to US dollar chart on the daily time frame, and as I talked about yesterday, the RSI is currently converging into a tightening range at the moment, and right now the daily Bitcoin RSI is currently testing this uptrend line of support, which is sitting at around 53 in the daily RSI. And basically, as you can see from these previous examples, if the daily Bitcoin RSI breaks below this uptrend line of support, then that is not a good signal for the Bitcoin price moving forward. So this is an extremely important test for Bitcoin at the moment, and of course we have lack in confirmation. We haven't actually confirmed a breakdown or a breakup in this indicator just yet, but I'll be sure to keep you updated on what this indicator does moving forward. And now zooming into the 12-hour Bitcoin chart, technically we still have this rising wedge pattern in its formation phase, and right now as of recording this video, the price of Bitcoin is testing this uptrend line of support, which is sitting at around 23.1k. And basically, as I explained yesterday, if the Bitcoin price starts breaking below around 23,000 with confirmation, so with a daily candle close at the very least, then that would really be the first confirmation on this chart of this potential bearish scenario playing out. And another confirmation to look out for is if the Bitcoin price forms a lower low. So if we break below around 22.4k, then in that case, we would have a lower high, lower low price structure, which is technically a bearish price structure forming. But obviously, as of right now, we haven't yet confirmed a lower low in the Bitcoin price, at least just yet. But what we do have is reduced bullish momentum according to the 12-hour Bitcoin MACD, which is also another sign to be cautious about. So technically speaking, this bullish trend that we've been in over the past 1.5 months or so hasn't confirmed a bearish reversal just yet, but it is potentially getting close to flipping bearish according to some of these indications that we're seeing at the moment. And now zooming into the much shorter term, taking a look at the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, obviously over the past one day, we've continued to see a little bit more of a cool off according to the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI. We were due to see this cool off because, as I mentioned yesterday, once again, we entered into overbought territories, telling us that we're due to see a bit of a call off like what we saw back here. And considering the fact that the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI is no longer in this shorter term uptrend, and instead it's now back to that choppy sideways range that we've been in the past just recently, according to this indicator alone, I'd mostly be expecting more choppy sideways price action moving forward, potentially up until we get those CPI numbers, because the moment we get those CPI numbers, especially if those numbers are massively outside of what we're expecting, we could end up seeing a lot of volatility when those numbers get released. But until then, between now and then, we could end up seeing simply choppy sideways price action, so not too much action. And looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin MACD, this is also telling us a similar story with basically almost no momentum to either direction at the moment. And just before getting into the Ethereum part of this video, I'll quickly let you know that there's actually a free airdrop happening right now up until the end of this month. And for those of you who don't know what an airdrop is, it's basically free money. And this airdrop, which is a free 100 USDT position, is eligible to anyone who has made a Bybit account using my link down below. And obviously, just making a Bybit account costs you nothing, and you don't actually have to deposit anything to claim this free airdrop. So it seriously is just free money, and there is a limited amount. So it's basically first come, first serve. If you're quick to claim this free airdrop, then you basically get free money. So I'll make sure to put the link to this page right here in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. It will probably be the second link. And you can see here that on my page, I'm not currently eligible. And that's because, first of all, I didn't make this Bybit account under my Bybit link. And secondly, I'm not eligible because I've already traded USDT perpetual contracts on this Bybit account. So if you have already traded USDT perpetual positions on your Bybit account, then this won't be eligible for you unless you made a new Bybit account, of course. And this is what it looks like if you do have a new Bybit account under my link, where basically you can choose to receive this airdrop in the form of a long position or a short position. And then as soon as you receive the airdrop, of course, you can close that position as soon as you want. And it's got all of the information about this on this page right here. So if you want to know the full details and any questions questions you might have, then once again, that's all on this page right here, which will be linked in the description down below. But anyway, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this right here is the daily Ethereum chart, and obviously we still have this active bearish divergence in play, which is a sign to be cautious at the moment, because obviously if you're looking at all of these other significant bearish divergences on the daily Ethereum chart, we can see what came next in the price of Ethereum over the following weeks and months. And I talked more about this in my last video on the channel, so if you want to know more information about this, if you're new to the channel, then check out my last video that I posted yesterday. But anyway, zooming into the 12-hour Ethereum chart, and right now, as of recording this video, the Ethereum price is currently breaking below this upwards trending line of support, which means it's currently breaking in the bearish direction from this rising wedge pattern. And in the immediate short term, we do have a little bit of support at around 1660 to 1670, but really the next important support for Ethereum is this previous low, which is sitting at around 1560 approximately. And if the price of Ethereum breaks below that previous low, then I'll be looking at our Fibonacci retracement tool right here, and below this low, which is coming in pretty close to the 23.6% Fibonacci level at around 1530, below that area on the chart, I would expect a drop down towards the 38.2% Fibonacci level, which is sitting at around 1370 to 1380. So that there would be one of the first major price targets to the downside if we break below this low at around 1560 once again. But if you zoom into the shorter term, taking a look at the 4-hour Ethereum chart, right now looking at these price oscillators, we're showing somewhat reduced momentum in either direction at the moment. So like I said, for Bitcoin, potentially between now and those CPI numbers, we could end up seeing a bit of choppy sideways price action for both Ethereum and Bitcoin. And that's just going off these price oscillators on the 4-hour time frame. And when you look at these Fibonacci levels, when you draw the Fibonacci retracement tool from this low that we saw in the middle of July up to the local high, then we do have the 23.6% Fibonacci level coming to play at around 1570 approximately, which is right where that previous low is coming into play, which is an area on the chart we have already confirmed as support. So once again, as I just said, if Ethereum first moves past this level just here at around 1660 approximately, I would expect Ethereum to continue down towards around 1570, and anything below that, I would expect a drop towards the 38.2% Fibonacci level on the 12-hour chart that I just covered. So overall, when it comes to the 12-hour time frame, Ethereum is starting to look more bearish than bullish at the moment, but in the immediate short term, talking about the next few hours sort of thing, we're looking more neutral above anything else. And then we could see a decent amount of volatility around those new CPI numbers in less than 24 hours from now. And if you want to maximize your profits in crypto, whether or not the price is going up, down, or chopping around sideways, then check out these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how to make money if the price is going either up or down, and the video in the bottom left of your screen shows you how to make money if the price is chopping around sideways. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.